knowledge, discernment, perception, cognition, ken, sight, view, behold, survey, inspect, belief, conviction, credence, reliance, trust, rust, corrode, decay, degenerate, blight, corrosion, rust, trust, multi, must, mold, shape, form, figure, image, picture, aspect, air, bearing, countenance, expression, look, attitude, condition, phase, position, posture, situation, state, view, angle, direction, tendency, conduct, government, lead, command, address, description, uniform, alike, constant, equal, smooth, steady, regular, unbroken, whole, intact, entire, total entirety, complete, unimpaired, concluded, execute, accomplishment, effectuation, termination. Well, that's all I have for now. My darling, we're still at sea, always at sea. It's so strange to feel as though we're not here or there. I've forgotten what it feels like to stand up straight and still. And I've forgotten where here is. We're not where we were anymore. We're somewhere else. I wish you were here, because then I would know where I am. I'd be home.
My parents have always expected a lot from me. There was a lot at stake from a young age. I was the second child. Well, third, if you count the sister who died in the womb, which I do. There's a syncopated sense of self that comes with cultivation within expectation, a hovering understanding of what you could, should, would be. That's not to say that I wasn't loved, because I was. And it's not to say that I didn't grow up in a good home, because I did. It's not to say that I don't care for my family, because I do. There are many things to be said on this subject and others, and even more that shouldn't be. The point being, I have a lot to say, both in general and particular, and it's about picking my moments. About picking my moments between time and in between, where the rattle and pneumatics and the spanners and wrenches and the unrelenting hiss of steam and stream of piss and endless symmetry of everyday chaos ends up singing in concentric cannons between the hours of 2 and 4 in the morning. I do my best work in the mornings between 2 and 4 a.m. It's quiet, and the only people professionally awake are involved in prostitution or stockbroking, and the rest are preoccupied with debauchery, and I wriggle on my couch, and sometimes I masturbate. But mostly I write, and it's an altogether wonderful time to be alive. I don't function between the hours of 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. This is not my time. I am, you are, we are, and we have no other life but this life in time, and that's all very well if you have the trust fund to be able to be a philosopher. But I struggle to function optimally during office hours. This is a sad and irrefutable fact. And it makes earning salary somewhat tricksy. I just want you to like me. My parents were anti-apartheid, you know. Because you get those white people who really just don't have a clue. But I'm not like them. We are the next generation, right? Right? Right. 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 I've tried my hand at several jobs. I not so secretly distrust any employer who hires me. I'm lazy and intelligent and the world's biggest bullshitter. How do you propose that we overcome this obstacle? SWOT analyses, staff meetings, gazing lovingly into each other's eyes. I suspect that we could purchase a cat that performs all of these activities better than I, and would be more committed to interface. But, as I've said, there has been a certain expectation for some time now for me to commit to a process of indoctrination into convention. Not that I'm a particularly shining example of anarchy or of excellence, but my social lethargy is somewhat worrisome to my family.
Wake up and you think about all the yous that have come and gone over the years. All the bones and blood and business that calls itself a family and asks you things you don't know the answer to. And tells you answers that have no questions and don't. And knowing that you're not really good enough at that one thing that's supposed to be your thing is enough to make you want to stick your knife in a toaster. But what really keeps me up late at night is this. I don't know what I don't know. And it's like I've dipped my hands into hot wax. Like I've burnt out my candle at both ends and I've stuck my hands into the mess in the middle. And it's painful and I don't like it. At first. But then I start to get used to it. And I like how it feels. I like the feeling of it sliding over my fingers and taking shape. The music molds itself to my hands like wax cooling, and it starts to make sense. But instead of just leaving it there, I get greedy, and I want to cover my hands in music. I want to be elbow deep in it all, and that's why I end up shoving my hands into a vat full of boiling wax and ambidextrous agony, and I burn all my skin off, and I stand there waving these shriveled, bloody stumps around, shouting, "Why me?" And part of me wants to be a cripple, because then I'll have an excuse for being a failure, and it won't just be because I'm not good enough. That doesn't actually happen. Me, with no hands. Obviously I have hands, it just feels like it, like I've burnt them off. Sometimes. Especially at 4 in the morning. And I begin to wonder if I could be any different, smarter or more interesting. And if I were, I wouldn't be here. If I'd be in a wood-paneled library in Berlin, or an artist studio in New York, or drinking 15-year-old whiskey and breathing a cleaner kind of air. I think about that quite a lot. About how we often don't want something good to happen. Because if it does, it means that we need to change who we are and be better and deserve it more and make something of it. It sounds as though my ear is empty and being filled up with rings. Concentric rings, the kind of rings that you find in a tree trunk to tell how old it is. And I'm old. I'm so old. I'm 25 and feel as though I've been reduced. No, deduced over the last few years. I'm so old, my body parts aren't where I left them. They're finding their way to the floorboards. They're sinking into the spaces and traces I walked yesterday and the day before that. And yes, the day before that as well. And my ears on either side of my head, they've moved to where my mouth used to be, and I'm struggling to articulate myself because everything that I'm saying sounds the same as what he said, she said, we said, and I can't be bothered to rewrite my opinions anymore to sound more intelligent. I have these conversations between traffic lights and cups of tea and dinners and evenings and mornings and showers and notebooks and good coffee and bad coffee and water to help my kidneys and lots of pee. I've told you exactly how I feel every day for the last 3 years. My darling, it's so cold out here. I keep thinking we'll see land soon, but it's just water. Water everywhere. It's drowning me even when I'm dry. I remember those yellow happy days when it felt as though our bones had powdered in our blood and the sun was warming through our marrow. I remember sucking on your lip and feeling like I was peeling the skin off an orange. And you were sweet, and you were warm, and you were whole, and we were enough. There are no oranges out at sea, my love. No oranges.
I distinctly remember eating leeches on the carpet with my sister and having to put newspaper down in case the juice stained and wishing we could have Emmett and wanting to be able to hug Mr. Chinwag like Natasha Sutherland and feeling deprived because I couldn't understand what everyone was singing about us, and in Natal it was generally considered a language only spoken in the less delicate suburbs of the Bluff. And I also remember the feel of the pile of the caramel fluff carpet between my tiptoes as I came down the stairs, and the squidge of thigh melamine on the kitchen counter after I'd heaved myself up to get closer to the mixing bowl, and the lurch of looking over the balcony down onto the pavement from all the way up in the, however many floors we were, I think it's called a penthouse, I only know it made Mummy uncomfortable. My mother was uncomfortable for the majority of my childhood. She suffered from crippling headaches and fits of depression and a fear of heights that proved impractical in our penthouse apartment. It was incredibly beautiful and ironic and not entirely logical. A real Victorian constitution.
And there were lots of long showers and cups of tea and loud laughs and tight shots. And once or twice my father served our guests a drink out of the wrong kind of glass. Beer in a coffee mug, as I recall. And There are cupboards full of china that haven't been used in over 27 years and drawers full of silver. I think we even have a set of Victorian grape scissors, the most antiquated item of civilized cutlery the human cognition has dared dream up. With nut picks and sardine tongs running a close second and third respectively. Scissors, invented purely to cut grapes of the vine. What elegance, what decadence, what a waste of time! I've never actually touched those scissors, or the French crystal, or the matching cruets. But it's nice to know that they're there, next to the old records and VHS tags we don't like enough to have transferred onto disk, but can't bear to throw away. And under the new flat screen.
Muddied scab of light that hasn't quite settled over me. I can just distinguish a blocked drain in the corner, a bunch of bird shit on the windowsill, and the fact that I haven't waxed my legs in about 8 weeks. I don't have enough time in me to get these things done. My days are broken into little pieces that are too small to do anything with, too small to mosaic into a tabletop to put a meal on, an al fresco meal with a summer salad and sangria. My days are too shattered to be a mosaic. What does that mean? I can't. En jou wange in my hande te vou, hou en diep asem in te haal, en deur jou apathiese glimlach moet klou, en jou hardkoppige skerel moet oop soem, en jou oor van 'n luismoltes moet uitlek en insluk. Inside me, I need not to be alone in this. And I need reassurance that I haven't made this all up. And so, I'm going to have to swallow your eyeballs. It sounds a lot less violent in Afrikaans. say that I'm attracted to children, or that I generally frequent places of public recreation looking for sexual partners. Not that there's anything wrong with that, per se. I mean, there are actual laws about public nudity, but there are also subcultures that employ certain habits and habitats, and I am not going to get into the complicated intersections of sexuality and morality in colloquial contexts. I'll just leave it at, I'm warm and I smell bad, in a liquid kind of way. Hot waste. Like 5:45 on a Sunday afternoon when there's nothing but Monday and another week full of more mistakes to be made. And I do realize how contrived that sounds, but it is actually also how I feel. And I smell like sex. And a long day and sex. And I take my sense of personal reality from this moment, from these pages that I hold in my head, that it is o'clock on a Monday, Tuesday, Saturday evening, that I am trying to make you particular people see what it is that I see. And also from our immediate cultural environment and from the complex construction of negative spaces that inform the impingements that have formed me since I was born. And perhaps even before I was in my mother's womb. The job I have, the kind of house that I live in, the cups, the dishes, the furniture, the plumbing, the cooking appliances, the permissions and restrictions that 21st century South African society lays out for me as a blonde, bourgeoisie woman. The purchasing power of the brand, the sound that contemporary music makes, street fashion and real-time blogging and 140 characters and who will be our next president. And my past. This moment has been made possible for me by my accumulated past and my historic past and my memories of change. And to the victor go the spoils, and history is written by the people who win battles and public opinion. And all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Cape Town together again.